we're going to get started lying down on our backs in a comfortable resting position. And that may be different from person to person. I'm going to choose to leave my knees bent. You can choose to have your legs straight if that is more comfortable for your body. So resting down, maybe allowing your arms to rest by your side, head hanging heavy, and just let your body kind of melt into the mat here. As you lie down on your back in this position, we're going to start class with just a quick check-in by doing a body scan from the very top of our head down to the tips of our toes. And I just want you to notice throughout your whole body, any spots of tension, aches, pains, maybe spots that feel really good, and just notice them. There's not a right or wrong way for our body to feel, but it's good to notice and recognize how our body is in this moment, because back pain is so influenced by our other joints. Sometimes our upper back, our hips, our knees, they can all influence how our lower back feels. And as you lie here in this moment, see if you can tune your attention to your breath. If you took my neck and shoulder pain class, you heard me talk about breath. It is just as important, if not more important, for managing back pain. So I'd like you guys to rest your hands right onto your belly and your rib cage. And as you take your inhale breaths in, I want you to actually feel some expansion of the breath underneath your fingertips. And when you exhale, I'd like you to feel that your belly and ribs drop away from your fingertips, letting some of that air go. And that pattern of breathing actually starts to use some of our abdominal muscles that support our spine, but it also helps to relax and to release some of the muscles that might be tight and bound up. We are intentionally using our diaphragm, which is one of our subconscious breathing muscles. And our diaphragm connects to our abdominals, it connects to our pelvic floor. So it has a very close relationship with how we're able to stabilize our spine. So as simple as this may be, starting with our breath, we're already doing something really positive for our back. We'll try one more big breath in here, breathing in through your nose, feeling your belly and ribs rise and lift. Exhale, blowing out through your mouth and releasing some of that air from the very bottom of your lungs. From here, we add in some movement. So if you can imagine the space that naturally falls under your low back, we're going to make that space smaller and bigger. So if your legs are all the way extended, go ahead and bend them here and start to close that space by drawing your ribs and hips towards one another and then opening towards one another and opening. I'm exaggerating this movement with my hands. This movement is actually quite small, especially if your lower back is a little bit stiff. So using your breath to gently rock the tailbone towards your face and away. There's not really a right or wrong way of breathing here, as long as you are breathing. But some people find it easiest to exhale when you close the space behind your low back and inhale to open. Exhale to close that space and inhale to open. Good. 4 more times like that. Exhale to close for 3 and gently open. Exhale, closing for 2 and gently open. Once more here and gently open, settling somewhere right into the middle. Excellent. Now from here, walk your feet together, knees together. Allow your arms to rest a little bit wider than hips distance. So we just moved our spine front to back. That was our forward and backward bending. Now we're going to rotate our spine. So keeping the knees and feet together, allow your knees to gently rock from side to side. And I want you to go only as far as you can without any pain or discomfort. So think of this less as a stretch and more of a gentle mobility work to bring blood flow to the spine. So we're not trying to push into any pain or push past the end range of motion. We're just really gently rocking our legs from side to side. We're going to get into some deeper movements later in class today, but we want to warm up the tissue first with this gentle side to side rocking. Know that it's okay for your hips to lift here, but you want to keep your shoulders down on the mat the whole time. Good. That's it. We have 4 more. 3, Last two. Last time, and gently come back through the center. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to start here with a little bit of gentle abdominal work. So our abdominals work to help keep our spine still in some situations and to move our spine in other situations. We're going to start with keeping our spine still. So take your hands and you're going to place your palms on your thigh bones. In this position, see if you can actually press your thigh bones away from your body. Of course, we won't see any movement, but that feeling alone can actually give a little bit of light traction and stretch and length to our low back. And that length is really nice. If we're dealing with any kind of compression to the nerves or any sciatica symptoms, this already can help that to feel a little bit better. So maybe you stay in this position, and that's fine. If you'd like to progress and build, we're going to bring the legs to the tabletop position and still continue to press our hands into our thighs. Now, the difference here is I'm also pressing my thighs against my hands. So I know you guys can't see that, but it's a lot of work to bring my thighs in and my hands away. So they are pushing against one another. You can feel how challenging that can be for the abdominals. So maybe you choose to just hold this here. If you would like to progress and build, start exhaling and then reach the left leg away. Pull it back in. Exhale, push the right leg away. Now, as I extend one leg away, I am pushing a little bit extra into the leg that's not moving. So now my left leg is pushing towards my chest. Now my right leg is pushing. Use your breathing here. Exhale to extend out. Good. Keep pressing with your hands. Use the pressure of your hands like you're almost sending your own thighs away from your body. Two more. That's it, guys. Last time here. Good. And place your feet down. Whew. And take a little breath and allow your legs to just gently rock from side to side. We're going to balance out that abdominal work, which is the support for the front side of our spine, with some glute work, our butt muscles, which is the support for the back side of our spine. So here, make sure you can tap your heels with your fingertips. Your feet are grounded into the mat and parallel, so you can feel your heel, your pinky toe, and your big toe down into the floor. Hands are down into the mat, and we lift our hips into a bridge. In this position, like I said, this should be your butt muscles working. So bring your hands to check and see if you can feel those muscles working in this setup. From here, you can add in some movement to tap your hips to the mat. Exhale to lift. Lower and tap the hips down, and exhale to lift. If you choose to just hold this bridge position, that is also fine here. If you feel discomfort in your low back, hold your bridge. Think of closing the space between your ribs and hips to make that a little bit smaller as you continue with your lift and lower. Good. Big toe, pinky toe, and heel pressing into the mat. Toes are wide, collarbones are open. We have 4 more. That's it, guys. Last 3. Exhale, lift 2. We're going to hold up on this one. Press, lift, hold. Pause here. We go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop the hips back down. Excellent. Now, from here, we're going to try a little bit more abdominal work. And so this time, we'll extend the legs out long and reach the arms long overhead. Just take a full body stretch. This can feel nice here. This can be a good release from all of the sitting we've done on the mat. As you exhale, start to reach your fingertips to the ceiling and see if you can roll yourself on up to sitting. You may not be able to, and that's okay. And if you can't, press yourself on up to the seated position, and then just practice rolling partway back and then on up. If you have sciatica, I recommend bending your knees here, digging your heels down into the mat to give yourself a little bit of extra support as you roll back down, and then perhaps rolling back on up. So this work here, I mentioned to you that our abs can work to keep our spine still. They can also work to create movement. This here is where they work to create movement. And I want you guys to see how flexible your spine can be. Is your spine moving like one stiff board, Or can you really feel your low back, mid back, upper back, head, neck, and shoulders melting down? And the same thing as you curl and roll the spine back on up. We'll try just once more. I know these are tricky. Again, you have that option to modify, just going part way down and part way up. And use your breathing, a big exhale as though I can hear that breath all the way from here, roll all the way on up, good. And then everyone at the top can go ahead and bend their knees and scoot their bottom in closer. Allow your fingertips to reach down towards your toes and just take a gentle breath, breathing into your lower back. So almost like you're letting your belly rest right on your thigh bones. A lot of times I get questions about people wanting to do a lot of stretching across the back, but if they bend forward, that is painful. That's very common with sciatica. This is a nice way to get a little bit of gentle forward bending in the spine with the knees bent and some support so that it's not so stressful to the nerves in your back. Good. Okay, so from here, we're gonna flip on over to the all fours position to do a little bit more mobility work. So if you need some padding underneath your knees or your wrists, go ahead and roll up your mat a few extra times and then set up so that your hands are right underneath your shoulders, knees are right underneath your hips. From this position, we're gonna try just a few simple cat-cows, but when we do so, I want you guys to feel the position of the bottom of your ribs. So actually go poke around, see if you can feel the bottom of your rib cage. That's where we're gonna initiate our movement here. So as we round and lift our spine, lifting from the bottom of our rib cage up, allowing our head to hang heavy. And as we drop down, allowing the bottom of the ribs to drop first, opening up the heart and chest. Exhale to gently round the spine, gazing towards the knees, pushing the floor away, and inhale to gently drop the ribs down, allowing the back to gently lift. Now, I want you to move within your body's comfortable range of motion. So if this becomes painful in any zone, just work slowly up to that point right before it starts to hurt, and then in and out of that zone. As you move here, I suspect that you will start to be able to move in a bigger range of motion with more comfort and just knowing that your body is warming up a little bit into this setup. Good. We'll try 2 more times just like this. And last time here. Good. Now we're going to try something, practicing what's called a hip hinge. So for those of you especially dealing with pain when you bend forward or bend over or pick something up, this hip hinge technique is very helpful to protect your back. So what I want you to imagine is that I placed a tray of waters right across your lower back. All we're going to do is shift our hips backwards and forward without spilling that water. So notice I'm not rounding my spine as I shift back or arching as I come forward. I'm keeping that flat back position, shifting front to back. And what that means here is that I'm bending from my hip joint, not my back. And so you can think of this exercise really as a brain exercise. We're teaching our brain to use our hips as opposed to using our back to do forward and backward bending. And our hips, they're a ball and socket joint. They actually have a lot of movement if we allow them to work that way. So slowly, as you work in and out of this range of motion, you'll find maybe you can go a little bit farther, still keeping your back in that flat position. Now, for those of you who have been taking my class, they feel pretty strong and comfortable here. You can do this in a plank, and it's quite a bit harder, but it is worth practice if you're ready to build. So you're going to walk your toes back, finding your plank position. Now try bending the knees and pushing forward. Bending the knees and pushing forward. So you can imagine like you're going to tap your knees to the mat, straighten them. Tap the knees to the mat and push to straighten. Drawing the ribs away from the floor, keeping your back flat the whole time. 2 more. Last time here. Good. And then rest down. And now we will take a stretch as we reach backwards to allow the spine to round, coming into our child's pose. If you cannot sit back on your hips and knees just like this, you can do a similar stretch, keeping your hips high and dropping your chest down to the floor. This one I call puppy dog stretch. So what we're targeting here really is our upper back and shoulders. It's also a nice decompression of the spine because our hips are slightly higher than our heart, especially in that puppy dog pose. Maybe allow your forehead to rest down onto the mat. And then from this position, we're going to walk forward to lie onto our stomach. So you can rest all the way down, separate your feet a bit wider than hip distance. If you feel compression in your back, you can turn your heels together and toes apart. From this setup, place your hands flat onto the floor and start to slowly press on up to lift your back. Maybe you're pressing and lifting just your upper back here, and that's fine. If you feel comfortable pressing up into your low back, you can give that a try here as well. So work once again with the range of motion that is comfortable for your body. Let your arms do the work here. Push your hands deeply into the floor. Shine your heart and chest forward, slowly melting and lowering down. Hands press down, opening the heart and chest, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears, and softening down onto the mat. If you still feel that compression in your low back, imagine lifting your rib cage and pressing and shining your heart forward. So basically using the stretch in your upper back to balance what you feel in your low back. This is a stretch of extension. So moving your spine backwards, which is for the most part the opposite of how we spend a lot of our days with our spines crunched forward. We'll try 3 more here. Go slow, be gentle, what works for your body. Last 2. That's it, guys. Last time, make sure you're still breathing as you push the floor out and away. And then soften and melt, lowering the spine all the way back down. And from here, we're going to turn to lie on your side. So I'm going to rest here on my left side if you guys would like to follow along. I made a little pillow for my head with my bottom bicep. I'm going to take my bottom left knee and bend it, pulling it in towards my chest. Then my top right leg is just lifted at the height of my hip. You can even bring your hand to your hip to make sure that they are stacked on top of one another, as well as your shoulders. If you feel back discomfort here, chances are you're rolled backward or forward too far. So try and restack the spine and reach your top leg out long. Now from here, very gentle, we're just going to start with a little lift and lower. So this lifting and lowering here should work the muscles on the side of your hip. If you feel this in your back, chances are you're going too fast or too high with your top leg. These little muscles on the side are what help to protect our back with twisting motions or sideways cutting movements. So if you notice this is very fatiguing or tiring, you may not be getting a lot of support from these muscles when you do those motions. That might put a little bit more stress on your lower back. We have 4 more here. And 3, that's it, guys. Teeny tiny, make sure that top leg is straight. And 1 more time there, and bend your knees in. Now we're gonna take a stretch for those muscles in just a moment, but before we do so, let's try the other side. So you guys can just roll over. I'll sit up so you can continue to see me here as we lie on our right side. So you can make a pillow with your bicep, bending your bottom leg in, and stretching and reaching the top leg out long. Reach it out past the end of your mat, stacking the hips, stacking the shoulders, and start to lift teeny tiny up and down. Notice that I'm really not letting this top foot go much below the height of my top hip. And you can notice, does the side feel easier? Does the side feel harder? Oftentimes we do have a big difference from side to side. And it's not uncommon, let's say you have back pain on your left side, to have some weakness in the left side hip muscles. So just notice that maybe this is something where you work a little bit more on one side than the other to help balance out your spine. Good. We have 4 more here. And 3. That's it, guys. Last 2. We're almost there. And 1 more time. Good. And bend the knees in. Excellent. So we're going to take that into a stretch now. So you can roll onto your back once again. And this time, take the right ankle on top of the left thigh bone. So a figure 4 position. Now, if that feels like a stretch on the outside of your right hip right away, stay like this. That's it. You've got your stretch. If you want to deepen that stretch, you can hug behind the back of your left thigh to gently pull the knees in towards your chest. If, as you pull your legs in, you feel your tailbone lifting off the ground, you've gone a little bit too far. So work to press your tailbone away. That's going to actually deepen the stretch for the hip while at the same time protecting your low back and minimizing compression through one side. We'll hold and breathe here. This should just feel like a stretch. It should not be sharp shooting or painful. And if it is, just back off a little bit. You're pushing a little bit too far. Excellent. Now from here, we're going to switch on over to the second side. So you can take your right foot down, place the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Again, this might feel like a stretch, and if that's enough, then stay there. If you would like to deepen that stretch, you can hug the back of your right thigh and start to gently pull the thigh bones in towards your chest. Let your collarbones relax back and press your tailbone down into the mat. Find that sweet spot where it's just a gentle stretch. It's not sharp shooting or painful. You don't feel your body guarding up or tensing. You should be able to relax into this stretch. Make sure you're still breathing here. And then we'll gently release and let both legs down. Now, we're going to take this into one final big stretch, and I have a little challenge for you guys to test out if you can do it. If you can't, I'm going to offer a modification. So we'll try here. You're going to draw both knees in towards your chest and see if you can rock yourself up to sitting. So that's kind of our step one. I'm just going to scoot back. Now, if you could do that, I want you to see if you can continue that rock and actually come up to standing in a gentle forward fold. If you cannot, you're going to just gently press yourself up and allow your head to hang heavy. If you have sciatica, I recommend a deep bend to your knees as you allow your head to hang forward. If you do not have sciatica, you can work to push the thigh bones away, maybe letting your head hang heavy and your rib cage lifting up from the floor. From here, if your knees are straight, we're going to take a bend, let the seat drop down, and then gently push to lift, allow the head to hang heavy. Twice more like that, we bend the knees, head lifts, and allow the head to hang heavy. And once more there, we drop our seat down, allow the head to hang heavy. And from here, we're going to roll all the way on up to our standing position. I will make a quick camera adjustment. We're actually going to complete our movement up in standing. So once you're on up, I'd like you to look down at your feet, finding your feet parallel to one another, pressing down into the floor and standing your spine up nice and tall. We'll take some breath work just like we started our class. We'll start with an inhale breath, reaching and lifting tall, and then an exhale, breath out to release. Another inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, breath out and release. Last time here, inhale, lift. Exhale, release all the way out and give yourself a little pat on the back for a great job in today's class. So we'll use our last couple minutes to answer